Okay, good afternoon. This year is in memory of my our beloved son Osher Shmuel Chaim ben Ephraim Vitziona. It's Yortzeit, 50th Yortzeit. Today's topic is the dead aware of the living. When we have a Yortzeit and we think about a loved one, we may wonder, do they know how we feel? Are they aware what's going on down here? Do they know what we're thinking? Do they sympathize with our troubles? Do they see our actions? Or do they even care? So, like most things in the Talmud, the answer is what? Yosef, machlokes. Here's Larry, machlokes. You take a look at the at your sheet. This is on Tractate Brachot. It's in English. On Tractate Brachot, page 18. Another ruling regarding showing proper respect for the dead. You see that? On the left side. Omer Rav Yehuda, Omer Rav Chav, Omer Rav Yehuda. Anyone who sees a dead body being transported from place to place and does not escort it, transgresses loeg larash cherev osehu. One who mocks a pauper blasphemes his maker. There's a pasuk in Mishlei, footnote 21. One who mocks a pauper, failing to treat him kindly because he believes unable to pay every kindness, is guilty of blasphemy since he demonstrates his disbelief in God's ability to what? To reward him. And someone who fails to show respect for the dead because they cannot return the favor shows a similar disbelief. So it's a kavod hameis. If someone sees a funeral, lo yaleinu, it's a kavod hameis to escort the body, based on Proverbs, footnote 21. And back in the text, Amar Rav Asi, regarding him, Scripture says, he lends Hashem, whoever is gracious to the poor. What does that mean? He lends Hashem. It's footnote 22. Also in Mishlei, the verse concludes, and his reward shall be granted him. So the Gemara expounds the word malveh, lends, if we're punctuated, melaveh, escorts. Read this way, the verse understood, one who is gracious to the poor. And who's more poor than a dead person? By escorting them, because the person cannot repay you, who will repay you? God will repay. It's as if you're doing a chesed for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because every human being is made in a tzelem Elohim. Every human being is a chelik Elohim imal. So when you honor the dead, the amazing statement here in the Gemara, it's as if you're honoring HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because every one of us has a tzelem Elohim, a chelik Elohim imal. Continuing the Gemara, another application of the prohibition of mocking a pauper. In this case, it's talking about what? A dead person. Rav Chia and Rav Yonatan, these great sages were walking in a cemetery. They had nothing better to do. What? They were walking in a cemetery, and Rav Yonatan's tzitzis were dragging over the graves. He wore a big talus cotton, and the tzitzis were dragging on the graves. Rabbi Chia said to him, what did he say to him? Lift up your garment, because the dead will say, tomorrow they will be joining us, and now they what? They mock us. Why are they mock? Why is it? You can't wear tzitzis or tefillin in a cemetery, because like you're making fun of a dead person. Why are you making fun of him? See footnote 27? Big, right? Footnote 27, it is a mockery for the dead who can no longer do the mitzvah of tzitzis or tefillin. And therefore, when you go to a cemetery, lo yaleinu, you should tuck in your tzitzis and your tefillin.
It says you can't wear the tefillin at all.
Well, you have to cover them, right? So look at note 27. As long as the tzitzis do not drag on the grave, however, it is permitted to wear them in a cemetery, as long as they're covered up. In regard to tefillin, which may not be worn in a cemetery at all, even if what? Even if they are covered up. Right? So nowadays, however, we do not wear tzitzis as part of our ordinary clothing, since our clothes do not have the normally four corners. Instead, we wear a special four-cornered garment, which we put tzitzis. This garment should not be worn in a cemetery with the tzitzis exposed at all. If the tzitzis are covered, however, it is permitted. Indeed, one may even enter a cemetery wearing tefillin as long as they are what? Covered. The Beis Yosef rules that a person can enter a cemetery if his tzitzis and tefillin are what? Covered up. One may even enter a cemetery wearing tefillin as long as they are covered up. So what's the problem? What's it? Rabbi Yonatan said on top of the page. Omer el Omalei. Rabbi Yonatan said to him, Umiyade kulahai. Do the dead know what's going on? Why should I not wear my tzitzis over their graves? V'oksiv, there's a pasuk in Kohelet. V'hameitim einu yodim uma. The dead know nothing at all. See footnote 28? It's a pasuk in Koheles. The verse reads, the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing at all. So the other rabbi said, what do you give me a hard time for? The dead don't know what's going on. So I'm not mocking them, whether I'm wearing tzitzis or not, or tefillin. So Rabbi Chia responds to him, you're making a mistake. Back in the text, Amalei, Rabbi Chia said to him, if you read this verse once, you must not have reviewed it a second time. And if you did read it a second time, you did not review it a third time, you don't understand what the verse means. What does it mean? And if you did review it a third time, you certainly did not have it explained to you properly. What's the true interpretation? That the dead don't know what's going on. What does it mean? So the beginning of the verse says what? For the living know that they will die. This is speaking about tzaddikim. This is speaking about the righteous people. Even after they're dead, they're called what? Living. So how should you explain the verse? Footnote 29. Footnote 29, the verse should be understood as follows. For the living, the righteous people, even after they're dead, are called what? Living. Who are truly living, know that they will die. And therefore they what? Since they know they're going to die, they'll have to give an accounting. Therefore they live what? A righteous and moral life. But the dead, the wicked, even what? A wicked person, even when he's alive, he's what? Dead, the night of the living dead. Remember the zombies? Night, there are a lot of walking zombies out there. Right? But the dead, the wicked, they know nothing at all. It means they don't care. They live an immoral life, and they don't care that they're going to have to give what? An accounting. Right? So the Gemara wants to prove over here that righteous people are considered living even after they're dead. The next paragraph, before continuing this explanation of the verse, Rabbi Chia brings support that the righteous are considered living even what? After the dead. Shenemar, there's a pasuk in the book of Samuel, and Ben Yayadah, son of Yayadah, the son of a living man. He was the chief of staff of Shlomo Melech's army. Why is he called Ben Ishchai? He's called Ben Ishchai. He's been dead for 3,000 years. Why is he called Ben Ishchai? What does Ben Ishchai mean? What? The son. He's a living person. So here the Gemara wants to prove that what? That a person, a righteous person, even after he's dead, is called what? Living. Because the chief of staff of Shlomo Melech, even though he died 3,000 years ago, is called Ben Ishchai. But there's a raya from Parshas Chayesora. The Parsha is called Chayesora. What does Chayesora mean? But the Parsha speaks about her death. So here you have a raya that when a tzaddik dies, she begins to live. Parshas Chayesora, speaking about her death. But when she died, she became what? She was born into what? Olam Haba. And therefore we say in Mishlei, in the Eishes Chayil Batischak Leyoim Achron, we say it every Friday night in the Eishes Chayil. There's a verse there, Batischak Leyom Achron. She laughs on the day of death. Who's the she? The godly soul. Batischak Leyom Achron. The Gemara points out, and that's Olam Hafuch. When a baby is born, the baby is crying, and the relatives are what? Smiling. Laughing and smiling. But when a righteous person dies, it's olam hafuch. All the relatives and friends are crying, but the tzaddik is what? Laughing. Vatischak leyoim achron. She, the godly soul, is neshama, is nekeva. The godly soul is feminine. Vatischak leyoim achron. So the godly soul rejoices on the day when she dies, because the death of the body is what? The eternal life of the soul. But we still don't know if what? If a dead person knows what's going on, or if he even cares. There's an amazing Baal HaTurim. It says, Vayelech Moshe. At the end of the Torah, right before he dies, it says Moshe went. In Parshas Netzavim Vayelech. So where did he go? So the Baal HaTurim says, Sheholach lahagid la'avot. He went to tell the Avot that God is keeping his promise to bring the Jewish people into Pisgat Zev. I mean into, where do you live? Armor Nativ, Hebron, right? Strange Baal HaTurim. Moshe went, there's an extra word in the Torah, Vayelech Moshe. Moshe went, Lahechen halach, said the Baal HaTurim, he went to tell the Avos in Gan Eden that God is keeping his word to bring the Jewish people to Israel. Don't the Avos know? Moshe Rabbeinu has to tell them. So it seems that what? That they don't know. In the Parshas Toldos, Rashi tells us that the day Abraham died, Esav committed 3 cardinal sins. Avodah Zarah, Gilarat Shechaz Damim. So Rashi says that Abraham died 5 years before his time. Rashi in Parshas Toldot said he died 5 years before his time, so he shouldn't see his neched become what? A lowlife. So God cut away 5 years of Abraham. Was supposed to live 180 years like his son Yitzchak. He died at 175, says Rashi. Shelo yireh Esav yotzil atar b'dra. So God shortened his life by what? 5 years. So doesn't Abraham know in Gan Eden what Esav is doing? What good Nechama would it do to shorten his life? Maybe he knows, but maybe he doesn't care. Interesting, right?
I think he cares.
I think what?
I think he cares.
Now, the Baal HaTanya says something incredible. He says, what's reality? This is called Olam HaSheker, right? Masha, it's called Olam HaSheker, and the afterlife is called Olam HaEmet. What's reality? The Zohar says something amazing. Why do we dream? Why do we dream? Dream a little dream of me. Why do we dream? Says the Zohar, a dream reminds us that this life here is only a dream. When a person dies, he wakes up from a dream. So we have that experience when we dream. It's a taste that all of the physical life are only dreaming. Real life begins in Olam Haba, when we shed the bodysuit. It's very interesting. The Baal HaTanya says, Olam Hazeh is Gehenom. Olam Haba is only Gan Eden. You know what the Baal HaTanya says? Gehenom is only Olam Hazeh. We all come down here to pay our dues. That's Gehenom. In Olam Haba, it's only Gan Eden. The Baal HaTanya said that. He said it. Take it to the bank. Olam Hazeh is Gehenom. And everyone has their own Gehenom here, whatever it is. Right? We were born to pay our dues. Everyone suffers. That's Gehenom. And Olam Haba is when the party begins. It's Rak Gan Eden. But anyway, we still have to find out, do the dead know what's going on? It's interesting that Rashi tells us in Parshas Chukas, when Moshe Rabbeinu sent a message to the king of Edom to let him pass through his land. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, we went down to Mitzrayim, and the Mitzrim did evil to us and to our ancestors. So why do you have to mention that? So Rashi says, Mikan sha'avot nitztarim ba'kever shepronius bo al Yisrael. The avot have anguish in the grave when punishment comes on what? On their children. So it looks like what? The dead people do know what's going on in this world. Right? Because why would Moshe say that when we suffer, our ancestors suffer with us? But what's in Bakever? What does Bakever mean? The others on the Kever than in Gan Eden. It's very strange. In Parshas Vayechi, Yaakov explains why he buried Rachel on the side of the road. Why he didn't bring her to the Marta Machpelah. He tells Yosef, why did I bury her there? Shetei Rachel Ezra lebaneha. Rachel will be a help for her children. When the Jewish people go into Galut, when Nebuchadnezzar Zaradna exiles them, they go into Galut, which they're going to pass a lonely, isolated road, and who's buried there? Rachel. Rachel will come out of her grave, and mevakesh rachamim, and she will what? Cry for her children. What do you mean Rachel will come out of her grave? Is Rachel in the grave? Yosef. The body's in the grave. The neshama is what? In Olam Haba. What do you mean Rachel will come out of her grave and be mitpalel? Only the bodysuit is in the grave.
That's pretty.
Right? What do you mean that Rachel will come out on a grave? What are we? What's the shot over here? So I think Yehuda Lev gave the answer. I think he gave the answer is that normally a person in the Olam Haba is not so concerned what's going on down here. Because he's what? Reunited, and it feels so good. When a tzaddik dies, it's called Hilula, Yosef. What does Hilula mean? A wedding. When a tzaddik dies, it's called Hilula. It's a wedding. The Gemara in Moed Katan says, when a tzaddik dies, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mesameach in neshama kechatan imakala Avram. Look it up, Moed Katan, page 28. When a tzaddik dies, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gershim is mesameach in neshama kechatan imakala.
Who does the catering? That's the question.
When a tzaddik dies, God rejoices with the neshama like a chassan rejoices with what? With the kala. So the neshama couldn't care less what's going down here. She's reunited with her source. She's on eternal honeymoon. So why should she care what's going on down here? But she does when you go to the kever. You're sending a neshama an SMS or maybe a WhatsApp. When you go to the kever, then you're forcing the neshama to what? Not to come down, to focus. Rachel's not in the kever. But what Rashi means is when the Jews passed by her kever, they were mitpalel. They sent Rachel Imeinu SMS. Eichamim b'Yivrit. And that caused Rachel to be mispalel for her. So I think that is the answer. That is the answer that normally a person in the Olam Haba is too focused on her source. HaKadosh Baruch Hu reunited. What could be a greater pleasure than to be reunited with what? With her source. Every person's a tzelem alhim chedek elahai mimal. But when you go, that's why you go to a kever. You don't pray to the dead person. But you're saying to the person in Olam Haba, tune in, and you have the boss's ear. We're not davening to the dead person. That's the wrong religion. But we're asking for the neshama to tune in and see our matzav and what in the shemayim she should be mispalel for her relatives and friends. So getting back to the sheet on the page of the Gemara. The Gemara is not so simple. Do the dead know what's going on, and don't they know what's going on? There seems to be what? A machlokis about this, right? There seems to be a machlokis about this. So certain sages said the dead don't know at all. Others say they do know. Very interesting. In the Shulchan Aruch, in Hilchas Tisha B'Av, the Ramah says, "V'holchim al hakvorot. Did you know that on Tisha B'Av there's a minhag to go to the cemetery, to the grave of what? Our friends and relatives. Why? Shulchan Aruch doesn't say why. The Ramah says in Hilchos Tisha B'Av, the whole Chamal HaKvorot, on Tisha B'Av you go to the kever. The Mishnah Berurah says why? Kidei sheyivakshu aleinu rachamim. Mi Hashem. Not that we pray to them, but they should what? Be mevakesh rachamim on us from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when we go to a kever of a tzaddik, to what? To pray. Are we praying to the kever of the tzaddik? Who are we praying to? Mishnah Berurah says, we kivakshu aleinu, that they, not that we pray to them, that they, since they have God's ear, they should be mevakesh rachamim v'HaKadosh Baruch Hu on us. And the Ramah says in Hilchos Erev Rosh Hashanah, it's a minhag to go to the Bet HaKvorot on Erev Rosh Hashanah and Erev Yom Kippur to humble our hearts for the Yom Hadin. The minhag is to say Bakoshas over there, because there the prayers are more effective. Why? Because the wishes of the dead help us. What's the source in the Chumash that you go to the kever of a tzaddik to pray, Avram? What's the source in the Chumash? Kalei ben Yefuna. Kalei ben Yefuna went to pray where? At the Morat HaMachpelah. Morat HaMachpelah. That Hashem should give him strength not to join the council of the spies. Hebron, Morat HaMachpelah. So that's the source. The Torah says Kalev broke away from the rest of the Meraglim, and he went from where? To the Morat HaMachpelah to be mitpalel. To be mitpalel, not to the dead people. In the schus of the Avot, he should have the strength not to fall in with the council of the spies, right? And Rav Yaakov Emden also ruled that it's proper to go to the graves of tzaddikim to what? To be mispalel.
Maybe we shouldn't go there because we bother them.
What?
Maybe we shouldn't go to the graves.
We bother them too much.
Rabbi Sprecher, so then, let's say, Rachel Imenu, I mean, there are always zillions of people there, then she's never enjoying.
That's what Yehuda Lev just said. We got to talk about that.
Just get any rest.
Right? You keep sending WhatsApp, you turn off your phone, like Yehuda said, right? Rachel has to turn off her phone sometime. Put it on silent. Right? And Mishnah Berurah says follow. When you go to the kever of a tzaddik to be mispalel, ach al yosim bakasha neget hametim. Chas v'sholem, don't request of the dead. There's a law in the Torah, and Dorish al hametim, you're not allowed to what? Pray to the dead. Ach yivakesh me Hashem. B'schus ha-tzadikim. Beautiful. Nikim, you want to come up here? Huh? Don't put your bekoshes to the dead people. That's the wrong religion. Pray for the dead, and the dead will pray for you. No. Ach yivakesh me HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'schus ha-tzadikim. But you should daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the schus of what? Of the tzadikim that are buried there. So Nechama and Yehuda asked a very good question. If we go to the grave of the tzaddikim all the time, we never give them Avram, we never give them any rest. What? But isn't the greatest pleasure of a father or a mother to help a child? That's not a bother for them. When a child is in trouble, the parent appreciates that we bother them. No, Gershom? So you go to the prayers of the tzaddikim to daven, we are their offspring. We have their DNA, Gershom. We have their DNA. You know what DNA stands for? Divine natural ability. I think. So therefore, I don't think it's a bother, because a child, a parent does for a child, it's not a bother, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So, Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, he wants to make up shara here in the Talmud debates. Do the dead know what's going on? Certain sages said yes. In Brachas 18, the seat in front of you, other sages say that they don't know what's going on. And we know, Elu v'elu divrei Elohim chayim. Gemara in Eruvin says, when one rabbi says this and the other rabbi says that, heavenly voice came out and said what? They're both right. Elu v'elu divrei Elohim chayim. You know the story. this quarreling couple came to the rabbi to what counseling. So the rabbi told the husband to go first. Right? The husband go first. So the husband said, she's no good, she's no good, she's no good. So the rabbi said, you're right. Then he told the wife, now it's your turn. And what does she say? He's no good, he's no good, he's no good. And the rabbi said, you know, you're right. The Rebbetzin overhearing this said, Rebbe, how could she be right and he be right? So the Rebbetzin says, the rabbi said, you know, you're also right. How could everybody be right, right? So do the dead know what's going on, or don't they? Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, he has an amazing explanation to this, to make up Shara. Again, he cites the Gemara in Eruvin, page 13, Elu v'elu divrei Elohim chayim. Beit Shammai said this, Beit Hillel said that, and Heavenly Voice said, you're both right. So he says something amazing. He says that both opinions are true. It depends what kind of life the person lived in this world. Some of the dead are aware what is occurring in this world, and others are what? Are oblivious. He says, Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz says, there are righteous people who live their lives caring for others, looking out for their neighbors, and they're always interested in the zulat. How do you say zulat in English? The other, right? Such people, says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, even after they die, are continuing to be what? Aware of the physical world. Just as in their lifetime, they were what? Tuned in, caring about the other, involved in the chesed projects. So even after they die, that personality remains with them. Only the body dies. But our personality, Yosef, lives forever. The character traits that we develop down here, Avram, lives beyond the grave. Love, hate, selfishness, kindness, that does not die with the body. Because that's part of the soul. I'm a soul man. So, Rabbi Sprecher says, a person that lived a life involved with others, caring about others, even after he leaves the physical world, he continues to be concerned about others, so he knows what's going on. But there are other people, even though they're righteous, who they don't want to mix with people, you know. A tzaddik in pelts. How do you say in English, a tzaddik in pelts? You know, it's cold in a room. There are many people who it's cold in a room. You can light a fire, or you can put on an overcoat. What's the difference?
Because you take care of yourself.
Right? That's called a tzaddik in pelts, right? Care about others. So certain people only righteous for themselves. They couldn't care about others. So in death, said Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, they continue to be unaware of the physical world, disconnected from the physical world as much as when they were down here as well. Wow. So what's the point? The point is that what we do down here, we take with us to Olam Haba. As we go about our daily lives, it may be worth considering that our earthly conduct and interaction with our fellow human being may one day define and determine our eternal existence. Isn't that incredible? What we do down here determines our eternity.
Rabbi Sprecher?
Yes?
But, you know, we had a doctor who was telling us that he was a great-great-grandson of some great rabbi.
Right.
And this doctor wasn't religious at all. But he said, I said, well, don't you think that your great-great, well, you know, whatever the rabbi was, would be upset with you? He says, no, because I'm a good person. But anyway.
I have a good heart.
What I say is, right, if his great ancestor would have looked out for him, he would be from.
But every person has free will, right? A deceased parent can be mitzpalel to Hashem. But the ultimate choice belongs to what? The person down here. If you look in Sefer Shoftim Nachama, Yonatan ben Gershon ben Moshe Rabbeinu was a Navi Sheker to Avodah Zarah. Are you sitting down? The greatest Navi who ever lived. Moshe Rabbeinu, if you look in the book of Judges, had a grandson, Yonatan, who was a Navi Sheker to Avodah Zarah. The rabbi said, are you insane? Are you crazy? He says, listen, it's a job. My grandfather told me that instead of being what? A lady-gayer, take any job. It's a good contract, have a nice house and a swimming pool, right? I don't believe in it, but it's a good paying job. And my grandfather told me, instead of being on welfare, what? Take any job. So, wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu mispalel for Yonatan to be a mensch? What? Yehuda. Yonatan ben Gershom and Moshe Rabbeinu was a Novi Sheker to Avodah Zarah.
So Christmas profitable.
Well, it's profitable. He said, I don't believe in it, but it's a good living. It's a living. You know the story. This old man was crossing. All my stories are true, but some did not happen yet, Larry. This old man was crossing a street, and he got hit by a car. So the driver stops, and he gets out of the car, and he takes off his jacket, and he puts it under the old man's head, and he says to the old man, how are you? How are you? How are you doing? What? No. Are you comfortable? He says, "Oi, are you comfortable?" He says, "Oh, yeah, I make a living." Are you comfortable? Thank you for helping me out, right? Are you comfortable? I make a living, right? Right? Chanoch, the ikar is to make a living, right? So, whatever it takes, right? That's why the Jews invented Hollywood. Not a joke. Jews invented Hollywood because they said, where else do you get the money before you provide the service? A Yiddish cup. Before you see the film, you pay the money. They invented Hollywood. But anyway, it's amazing that the Mishnah in Masechta Avot, the Mishnah says, what does the Mishnah say? When a person dies, what does it say there? What's the language? Va'ata osid liten din v'cheshbon. Va'ata atid liten din v'cheshbon lifnei melech malchei amlochem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shakel b'shloisha devarim. Meditate on three principles, right? Da mayim bata, where do you come from? And where are you going? Lifnei mi ata liten din v'cheshbon. Lifnei melech malchei amlochim. Who judges us while we die, Nechama? Who? What? That's what I would say. But the Mishnah doesn't say that. Look at the Mishnah. Mrs. Fox, look at the Mishnah. Send regards to your husband. Okay? The Mishnah says, Lifnei mi ata. Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Lifnei mi ata osid liten din v'cheshbon. The Mishnah says that we judge ourselves when we die. Did you hear this? Nuchama, lifnei mi ata atid liten din v'cheshbon. We are going to give a din v'cheshbon in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
That's why you're always supposed to be lomei l'kavskot.
Beautiful. Therefore, the Vilna Gaon and the Baal Shem Tov say you're supposed to be dan l'kavskos to everybody. Because the way we judge others, we will judge ourselves. When we die, we judge ourselves. Did you know that? The Mishnah says it. But it's olam ha'emet, so you can't lie. So the Baal Shem Tov says, based on a Zohar, if a person in this lifetime judges others favorably, he's not harsh, he's not judgmental. So he develops a character trait to judge favorably. That remains with him when he dies. So when he gets up to Shemayim, remember the story with David HaMelech when he sinned with Bathsheba? Remember?
Yes.
Did God punish him right away? No. God sent Nos and Anovi with a whole spiel. Rich man, poor man. Remember, it's a whole parable. And David said, he deserves to die, this rich man. What did Nason say? Ata ha'ish. So the Zohar says that Navi doesn't tell me any stories. Tanakh, Yosef, is God's GPS, God's personal system. So the Zohar said every person after he dies, God will give him a tick. And the tick will say John Doe or Pliny ben Pliny. God says, do me a favor, can you judge this case? And then when you give the verdict, what will God say?
It's you.
It's you. So the Baal Shem Tov says, based on a Zohar, here is Larry, the person inculcates in Olam Hazeh to judge others favorably, then that midah stays with him after he dies. So when God will give him a tick to judge, he'll judge himself favorably because he was conditioned in a lifetime of judging favorably. But if God forbid a person was short-tempered, judgmental and harsh with someone else, not giving the benefit of the doubt, that remains with him after he dies as well. So when God will give him a tick to judge, he will judge himself harshly. We judge our Ata Osid, Ata Atit Litein. You are destined to give a din b'cheshbon. Lifnei Melech Malchei Amlachim. It's pretty incredible. What we do down here has eternal repercussions.
You have to get a tick like the Israeli bureaucracy.
Tick.
You might take a few hundred years.
Right, a tick, right? So Ata Ish, we judge ourselves. So therefore, if you give others the benefit of the doubt and judge favorably, who are you doing a favor? However, who are you doing a favor? Yourself. Because the way you judge others, you will judge yourself. But a person is harsh and judgmental, then Nebuch Lo Yaleinu, it's called the boomerang. How do you say in Hebrew, boomerang?
Boomerang.
Thank you, boomerang. It's just amazing. Who said the world is a stage?
Shakespeare.
No, before Shakespeare. King David, Olam Chesed Yiboneh. Olam Chesed Yiboneh. God built the world that people should do chesed one for the other. The world is a stage. God created the world that we should do chesed for the other. And therefore, the Talmud says that a person that's poor, or lo yaleinu, blind, is considered what? Dead. Because a person that's poor or blind, his capacity to do chesed is very limited. If he's poor or blind, never. So therefore, he's like dead. To be alive is to do chesed. So we are a chesed people. We never really die. Because when we leave this world, we still care for others. We still mispalel for others. The kesher is not broken with death. The kesher is not broken with death. It's just an amazing pasuk, Yosef. You know, you're taking Hebrew, Yosef. In Parshas Toldot, it says, "V'Rivka ohevet Yaakov." V'Rivka ohevet et Yaakov. Now, if you read the English, it says Rivka loved Yaakov, but you know Hebrew. Rivka ohevet et Yaakov means what? She loves Yaakov. What do you mean she loves Yaakov? They've been dead for 3,800 years, Avram. You read the article, you get mixed up, because the article says love, but it doesn't say love. It doesn't say ahav, it says ohevet. What does ohevet mean? Lashon hovet. Rivka continues to love Yaakov. It's 3,800 years later, Reb Gershom. So the Torah is teaching us that the family bond is not broken with death. Rivka continues to love her beloved Yaakov and Olam HaEmet 3,800 years later. Because she loved him down here, she continues to love him. And the family bond is not broken with death. So we go to a kever of a loved one, we are sending them an SMS They're grooving with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Their eternal honeymoon. But when we come to the kever, we are asking them to what? Remember? There's a custom, a Hasidic custom, that when the Chas and Kala get married, before the wedding, if a parent or a grandparent is deceased, they go to the cemetery with invitation. You know this, Golden? You know that. You know that. You go to the cemetery with an invitation to a deceased parent or grandparent. What are you doing? You're asking them to tune in. And the Zohar says something incredible. If you do that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu chases the neshama. The neshama doesn't want to leave Gan Eden. HaKadosh Baruch Hu chases them. Your children summoned you. You have to leave the honeymoon and go attend the wedding. The Zohar Kodesh says that. If you invite the deceased parent by going to the kever, then the Zohar says HaKadosh Baruch Hu chases the neshama out from Gan Eden. Neshama doesn't want to leave. Your children summoned you. You must attend the wedding. And then beam me up, Scotty. Beam me down, beam me up. It's amazing. It's a parallel world. What's reality? This is called Olam HaSheker.
So is it fair
And Olam Emet is called Olam Emet. This is called Olam HaSheker. What?
Is it fair to take a grandparent out of Gan Eden because you want them at the wedding?
Okay. But we said it. But a parent-child relationship is eternal. It's really not a bother for a parent or a grandparent. It's their nachas. But again, they're not tuned in because they're busy in the eternal honeymoon. But when you summon them, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you have to attend. It's your child. Right? So that bond is eternal. We still say Avraham Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu. And the mothers, right? The four mothers. We are them and they are us, Yosef, no? We all have their DNA. Besides divine natural ability, what else does it stand for? DNA, what does it really stand for? Divine natural ability? What? Divine natural ability or divine whatever. So anyway, we have to know that the more chesed we do for each other down here, that guarantees that after 120 we'll be completely tuned in. We'll have the best of both worlds. You hear this? Beam me up and beam me down. Right? The neshama comes down to a chasana, and then after she goes back up again. A tzaddik has that koach. The Gemara in Ksubah says that Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, after he died, every Friday night he what? He came back. How could he make kiddush? Can a dead person be yotzei what? Remember, it's Gemara in Ksubah. So he's not obligated. How could he be yotzei others? Evelyn, he came back to make kiddush on Friday night, but a dead person is potter for mitzvot. So if I'm potter, I can't be moitzi others. So Tosfos says that proves tzaddikim b'misotam kurim achayim. A tzaddik never dies. On and on, on and on. Yehuda HaNasi wasn't dead. He just shed the bodysuit, but he continued to live. A tzaddik after he dies begins to live. Chaya Sarah. The Parsha speaks about a death, and yet it's called the life of Sarah. When Sarah died, she began to live. Vayechi Yaakov, the Parsha Vayechi, speaks about Yaakov's life, speaks about his death. Why is the Parsha called Vayechi? Again, when a tzaddik dies, he or she begins to live in Olam Haba. When the neshama sheds the body. Therefore, a dead person is called a niftar. Even a modern Hebrew, a dead person is called a niftar. Who knows what niftar means?
Release.
Beautiful. Please release me. Let me. A niftar means release. It's actually an Aramaic word. Chanoch. Even a modern Hebrew. No, the word ulpan is not even Hebrew. Ask your ulpan teacher. The word ulpan is not in Hebrew. It's what? It's Aramaic. It's Aramaic and Hebrew. So, Yaakov Ishtam Yoshev Ahalim. Uncle says Beit Ulpana. So the word niftar, Avram, for a dead person is an Aramaic word that means what? Released. Because the neshama is trapped in her bodysuit, confined. When a person dies, the neshama is released. She's no longer confined by her spacesuit. You remember Neil Armstrong on the moon? Right? Remember that? One small step for man. I was a kid then, but you couldn't fool me. I knew that's funny looking spacesuit. That was not Neil Armstrong. Did you think that was Neil Armstrong? Huh? Huh? I knew Neil Armstrong was inside that funny looking spacesuit. You couldn't fool me. We're all wearing spacesuits. The body is the spacesuit to maneuver. But that's not me. My godly soul is inside the spacesuit. When a person dies, the spacesuit, he just takes it off. The neshama continues. We wear it to maneuver down here. Give you one example, and with this will close. When you ask a person to point to themselves, Larry, most people will point to their heart, right? But let's say, Avi, a person has a heart transplant. Can he point to his heart? It's not his heart, right?
Once it's in his body, it's his.
But if you point, most people will point to their heart. Point to yourself. But how can you point to your heart, Gershom? It's not my heart. Many people are walking around with a heart transplant. So you see, you are not your bodysuit. You're the godly soul, the Tselem Elohim, which is eternal, which is part of God. But the neshama comes down here to masquerade. The Moral Mi Prague, I'll close with this. If you just came to hear this, Nechama, the Moral Mi Prague, afterwards, what did I just say? The neshama is part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachol. It's eternal. It wears the bodysuit or the spacesuit. And the Moral Mi Prague, writing in the year 1560, says, how come anti-Semitism is so totally irrationally illogical? He's writing in the year 1560. It makes no sense. The hatred of a Jew. No, the Nazis despised, but they also feared the Jew. He said, it makes no sense. We're hated, we're despised, and we're feared. How could the Nazis fear us? You read the Mein Kampf. They just feared the Jew. We are the most weak. We had no army, we had no country, totally defenseless. What's this loathing and this fear? So 500 years ago, Reb Nachum, the Moral Mi Prague, something amazing. I'll put it in my words. Remember that movie, It Came from Outer Space?
Yeah.
It's a B movie. It came from outer space. The Moral says the Gentile senses that we are an alien implant. Body snatchers. And therefore, says the Moral, the Gentile knows that we are a creature of Olam Haba. We're masquerading in a physical body. So that explains the loathing and the fear. The Gentile senses that we don't belong here. We're masquerading in a physical body. We are creatures of Olam Haba. We're part of the Tselem Chelik Elohim Yimal. So that explains, he says in Moral, 500 years ago, the total irrationality and hatred and fear and loathing of a Jewish person. Wherever even they never met a Jew, there's this loathing and this disgust and fear. Because the Gentile senses that. We are alien implants. We are neshama, tahorah, hatzelem Elohim, chelik Elohim Yimal, who are masquerading in a goof in order to accomplish a mission. And when the mission is over, Yosef, beam me up, Scotty. Yes, only one. Yes.
What about Jews, self-hating Jews who don't like other Jews? What are they? Are they in effect making...
You can never lose your godly soul.
You can't.
You cannot lose your godly soul. A person will have to suffer and go through tikkunim, gilgulim, but a person can never lose his godly soul. If he does averot, he will have to pay the price. But that's tikkunim that all of us do. there's reincarnation and all the suffering that we go through. We've not been here the first time. Everybody here has been recycled. The Zohar says everybody you meet in this world, there are no chance encounters. Aviv, we've met before. Whether you know it or not, deja vu. The Zohar says anyone that you meet in this lifetime, we've met before, and we have unfinished business. We have unfinished business, and we're each helping each other do our tikkun. Just by interacting, we've met before. Who said it's deja vu all over again? Therefore, the Jew is the eternal optimist. The Jew is the eternal optimist. That when we leave the Olam HaSheker, we go to Olam HaEmet. Let's not be in a hurry to get there. Right? We have a lot to accomplish down here. But after 120, we have a glorious future ahead of us. And we have to know that. May the neshama have an aliyah. May the neshmas Oshel Machaim and Ephraim Vitziona and the neshmas Pesel Bas Nocham Bes Snow. Leila Nishmatam.